have we put in our own person into BLS? Is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts? Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems.
Well, that guy that you just heard speaking to Steve Bannon is Dr. E.J. Antoni, who President Donald Trump just announced today will likely replace the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner that he just recently fired because he didn't like the revisions in the jobs report. Now, that former Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner was Erica McIntyre. She's gone, and now the person nominated is Antoni. Now, who is Antoni? What does he represent? What's his background? Well, he is a Heritage Foundation senior scholar and chief economist. He also contributed to Project 2025, and he's got a PhD in economics from Northern Illinois University, and he's a frequent guest on right-wing media. So you might have seen him if you ever watch Fox News, Fox Business, Newsmax, those kinds of outlets. But what's important to know about this 37-year-old man is that he spent his entire career essentially working for right-wing think tanks. And Heritage Foundation, of course, is one of those right-wing think tanks. And his experience working for those think tanks has little to do with labor and, more importantly, macroeconomic topics, which is the agency's focus, the Bureau of Labor Statistics focus. So he's made a lot of statements in the past that show that he kind of misunderstands the government data that comes out. So I'll give you a few examples as detailed by the Times. In one case, he cited the rising number of Americans who aren't in the labor force without acknowledging the role of the aging population. In another, he appeared not to know that the Bureau's measure of import prices does not include the effect of tariffs. So, that experience or lack of experience could be a problem. He would still need to be confirmed by the Senate to serve in that role. Although I think he can he could work as the commissioner of the BLS, but not with the official title.
None of this matters, guys.
Okay.
So this guy's a clown and a half, right? Doesn't know anything. He's constantly being corrected online, and oops, he got it.
By right-wingers, by the way.
Basic economics wrong. But that's not the issue, guys. In my opinion, the issue is the fish rots from the head down. So Donald Trump is insisting on whoever is hired has to change the correct numbers to incorrect numbers.
Yeah.
He won't hire you unless you promise to be politically correct rather than factually correct. So whether it's Napoli or Bapoli or Chipotle, it doesn't really matter, okay? You could hire Chipotle. It doesn't, he's saying you must lie. Okay, and since he's demanding that this person lie, who the liar is entirely irrelevant.
His lack of experience is irrelevant.
His lack of experience is irrelevant, and saying that I will doctor the numbers on your behalf is not the bug, it's the feature. That's why he's being hired. If he was an honest, true economist, he wouldn't be hired by Trump.
I think
because Trump is saying out loud, I want you to change the numbers. And the numbers are accurate now. These are the updated numbers. So he's gonna have to lie. So there's a second part of this, but Anna, go ahead.
No, I mean, you do make a devastating point, and that probably explains the reason why, really, if you go online, you'll notice that the people freaking out the most on X are right-wingers, right? Conservatives. So I'll give you a few examples. Let's go to graphic 8 here. This is Stan Vuger. He's a senior fellow at the Conservative American Enterprise Institute. He writes that Antoni is utterly unqualified and as partisan as it gets. Well, he is partisan. He's partisan on the right. The guy you just heard from, who I read the quote from, is also on the right. But look, when you think about it, Cenk, who relies on the jobs numbers the most?
Yeah, that's getting to the second part. Exactly, the markets do and businesses
Wall Street.
Do. Yeah.
Okay, if you don't have accurate, credible data you can trust coming out of this government agency, well, what are you gonna do with your stock trades?
So look, guys, never rely on my financial advice. Even if I'm right, timing is everything. So so don't make any investments based on this. But my sense of the politics and the markets combined, is that the markets are playing with fire in 3 different ways. So later in the show, we're gonna get to how they're doing endless stock buybacks. That by definition inflates the prices of these stocks, okay? Secondly, they're ignoring Trump's tariff threats because they think, oh, Trump's never gonna impose any tariffs because of taco. They're all eating tacos, not just on Tuesday, but every day, right? So they've now totally discounted the idea that tariffs might hurt the economy. And now third is this. Now on top of this, we're gonna get this, whether it's this guy or any other guy, somebody making up numbers about the jobs. So we have no idea how the economy's doing, right? So then us and the markets and everyone is flying blind. Okay, so when you're flying blind and the market is way overheated to begin with, and you don't think that Trump is going to do the dumbass things that he's promising to do, this is a recipe for disaster. So I don't know what Wall Street's gonna do when they can't rely on the numbers. At some point, they're gonna panic because they're gonna be like, I don't know if the job numbers are up or down. I don't know if unemployment's up or down. I don't know if the interest rates should be moved up or down. I don't know, it's impossible to know, right? Because now we don't have real numbers. And that's gonna cause a massive economic problem.
So last week, Antoni was on Fox News, and they were talking about the jobs report and how it keeps getting revised, and was asked whether or not you can really rely on these numbers or if this is a credible organization. And he said that he doesn't believe the jobs data was intentionally manipulated, but instead argues that persistent flaws in the Bureau of Labor Statistics methodology have gone unaddressed. And honestly, I would agree with him on that, right? Like, so, the methodology needs to be updated or to adapt with the times, because one of the difficulties here is getting businesses to respond to questions about hiring and employment. That's how they gather the data for the jobs report. So Antoni pointed to a declining response rate, now below 50%, as a key factor contributing to inaccuracies, saying that no one in a position of power fixed the problems in the data. Okay, great. So far, so good. What are your proposals here? What would you do? He says the problems in the BLS data have been evident for 3 years now, and they still haven't been fixed. The fact that you consistently have large downward revisions means there are other things wrong with your models and methodologies. Statistical assumptions that may have worked fine before COVID no longer work in today's economy and therefore need to be revised. But see, as much as I might agree with that statement, the fact of the matter is he says different things depending on who he's speaking to, and he's not always consistent. So back in May, he was singing a completely different tune. He said month after month, the government bean counters under former President Biden published overly optimistic estimates for everything from job growth to the size of the economy, only to have those numbers routinely and quietly revised down later. But as we showed you all, when Trump initially fired the commissioner for BLS, the jobs report that came out right before the 2024 presidential election actually had the job numbers lower and then were revised after election day to show that there were more jobs created than initially believed in the initial jobs report.
So if Trump's conspiracy theory is correct in this case, then the BLS was rigged against the Democrats,
right,
not against Trump. But of course, Trump's theory doesn't make any sense. And in fact, it'll be proven that way a little bit later after he hires this guy or the next guy. And I'll tell you why in a sec. But first, who can you trust? So Antoni says, oh, the numbers are a little wrong, I'm gonna fix them. Now, we know what fix means. Fix is make Donald Trump happy, so you can't rely on him. So CNBC is not trustworthy on any policy issue at all. They're some of the worst anchors on television. The only one thing you can trust them on is what's best for the markets, right? They're obsessed with that. And they are flipping out over this.
They are.
They're like, what? No, we need real numbers, not fake numbers. Fake numbers don't help anyone, right? That's why a lot of the right wing is flipping out, because they also represent corporate interests. So this is not like, oh, Trump is taking it to the man. No, he's taking it to the facts. And so since he's going to warp our sense of reality, they don't know how to invest. And that's a rare thing that the markets and CNBC are right about. Now, lastly, so this guy's gonna come in, or whoever it is comes in and is going to do what Trump wants. So the next set of job numbers will be much higher. even whether they are or aren't, doesn't matter. We all know Trump wants higher numbers, so he's gonna publish higher numbers. And then the Federal Reserve's gonna say, well, if the numbers are that high, we can't lower interest rates. And then Trump's gonna flip out.
He's definitely gonna flip out.
And he's gonna be like, and he's already flipping out over Powell today. He's saying that he might sue Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve.
I think he's definitely gonna. That's what he does. He sues
sue
everyone. Yeah.
The president's gonna sue the head of the Federal Reserve. That's so maniacal. There's no words for it. But anyway,
the Federal Reserve is probably gonna settle for like $500 million because that's what seems to happen every single time.
So, but what's gonna happen is the Fed's gonna say, hey, we can't. If the jobs numbers are that high, if you know anything about economics, anything, you know that we can't lower interest rates. And then Trump might turn around and go, I gotta fire this Antoni guy. Why does he give me higher job numbers? Or I want lower job numbers. Give me a guy who'll give me lower job numbers. Well, that's how we started in the first place, you schmuck. But he doesn't know anything. That's an enormous problem when he's the president of the United States. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.